Welcome to YOUREDDIT TTS. Pick your battles a little more carefully. So basically, I moved into a 2BT apartment 2 months ago with Sarah and Jessica. Names changed. Now, Sarah is on the lease, Jessica is Sarah's girlfriend and isn't on the lease. I pay 50%, Sarah pays 25% and Jessica pays 25% of rent. Not my ideal situation, but I was desperate for roommates at the time. Fast forward 2 months, they enormous slobs who never do anything, so I clean up after them all the time. I vacuum the living room, mop the kitchen, do dishes, etc. I buy most of the shared groceries and household items like TP, which the two of them plow through really quickly. Sarah has a cat in the apartment which is unauthorized, and regularly has an unauthorized dog here too. Their rent is paid late and utilities on the last possible day. Also, the girls smoke copious amounts of weed, and while I don't care, I asked them to be respectful enough to air out the apartment and keep the smoke out of my room. Now last week shit goes south. Sarah and Jessica overheard me bitching about having to clean up after them, and after ignoring me for a few days, sent me a long text about how rude they considered that, etc. So I let out everything that was bothering me, and tell them that if they don't want to live with me, I'll gladly release them from the lease, repay the deposit, and they can go. This causes them to freak out and they tell me, "It's 2 against 1, we will force you to move." Oh hell no. I block them on all forms of social media and means of communication. The next day, I went down to the apartment managers and reported the 2 unauthorized pets and the unauthorized occupant. Written notices were given, Sarah and Jessica threw them straight in the trash. I return from a 4-day stay at my dad's house and go straight to report the unauthorized occupant Jessica, who has already once been asked to leave, and both unauthorized pets which were supposed to be gone by now. Well, at this point Sarah and Jessica are getting pissed off. Jessica screams obscenities at me any time I enter or leave my bedroom. Twice she spent a half-hour period pounding on my door and the walls of my room. She taunts me through the door trying to get me to open up. All of this is being quietly recorded on my phone while I still haven't said a word. So yesterday, I went back down to the office to finish securing my new apartment and to report more violations. When I came home, the chain lock was locked, so I had no way to get in. This is what I had been waiting for. Jessica taunts me again on video and then slaps my hat off my head, hitting me square in the forehead with the back of her hand. Bingo, the revenge. I call the cops, rat Sarah and Jessica out for being druggies, get all their paraphernalia confiscated, and get a police report for battery. Come Monday, I'll be on my way to the prosecutor office to press charges. The apartment managers will also be getting a copy of this report. Also, tomorrow is the last day to pay rent before it's late. Sarah and Jessica disappeared early this morning. If they don't pay rent, I gonna get them on the abandonment clause, finally get them evicted, and have the locks change. All before I move out tomorrow. It's 2 against 1, think again. I forced my Jekyll and Hyde neighbor to move out, but I didn't stop there. We wife and I live in a townhouse complex. For anyone outside of my country, it's like a row of houses in a gated community. Our complex has 3 rows with 6 houses and 1 row with 5, need room for that community pool. The 2 evil neighbors in question lived across from us, the one right across from us Unit 10 and the one to their right Unit 11, not real numbers for obvious reasons. What you need to know is the driveway separating each of the rows, it wide enough to fit 2 cars okayish. If both cars traveling slowly they can pass each other with ease. When they first moved in we got along okay with them. I even played games with their kids, 3 each per unit, when walking past to my house from the car park. I thought they were good families, as when the kids did something like kick balls at our wall and not stop, I would tell the parents and the kids got punished. I explained this cause, and just one day they went from a nice family to assaulting my wife. We came home from an event, I think the movies, one night. Another neighbor of ours made it to the driveway before us, so he was first. The people in number 10, whom I will now refer to as Psycho BTCH, and a whole husband had their family van parked out front of their house across from my house. Kids were getting in and out of the van while Psycho BTCH was keeping an eye on things. Our other neighbor who lives on our side of the complex right next to us moved his car slowly past Psycho BTCH and the van first. We will call him Nice Neighbor for now. When Nice Neighbor slowly moved past the van, there was no problem at all. My wife was right behind Nice Neighbor and did the exact same thing, slowly moved her car past in full view of Psycho BTCH. The strange thing is that nothing happened. My wife made it past without even a glare. I got out and opened the garage door for her to park the car. We reversed the car into our garage and I was about to shut the rolling door when Psycho BTCH comes screaming over and yelling, accusing us of trying to run over her kids. She barged into our garage right past me and banged on the driver's side window to the point my wife had to roll the window down or Psycho BTCH would have broken it. She started pointing a finger and yelling about how dare my wife try and run over her kids. I want to point out that from the time my wife passed the van till the time Psycho BTCH came raging over was 2 minutes. Why didn't she blame Nice Neighbor and why didn't she say anything as my wife moved the car past the van? It like the worst delayed reaction in history, and to this day we still don't know the real reason they had it out for my wife and I. If the real reason was running over the kids, Psycho BTCH would have been a Nice Neighbor face or in my wife face while she moved the car past the van. My wife felt cornered and scared and I was about to drag Psycho BTCH out of our garage when a whole husband came storming over and threatened me to not touch his wife. So I had to leave my wife cornered and defenseless as to hold off a whole husband in the driveway. After a few minutes of screaming at my wife, Psycho BTCH went too far. She slapped my wife hard across the face and her sharp nails left multiple scratch marks and bleeding. That was the last straw for me as my adrenaline kicked in. I'm not a violent guy. I like to think I'm normally smart by having a policy of the best defense is to not get into a fight in the first place. I stormed over to Psycho BTCH but a whole husband grabbed my shoulder from behind and demanded to know where I was going. I turned round and gutted the idiot in the stomach with a right hook, then ignored him as he went down. I grabbed Psycho BTCH from behind as she was still wailing on my wife and threw her to the ground outside of our garage. I told them to rack off, polite way I said it, and leave us alone. We went inside and called the police to file a report. The police took notes and photos. I even said I punched a whole husband in defense of my wife. I got nothing to hide. The police didn't do much apart from take notes and that was it. The Jekyll and Hyde 180 they pulled on us from good neighbors to assaulting my wife really took us by surprise. In the weeks and months that followed we got insults, glaring and threats from units 10 and 11 as 11 joined their friends in condemning us. Most others in the complex took our side as they either saw or heard what happened. One thing was clear, units 10 and 11 had to go. We own our house and we ain't up and leaving our lives cause Psycho BTCH wants to start drama with us. First I called Body Corporation. They manage the complex, kind of like a commercial HOA but not a HOA as not run by residents of the complex but a company, and filed a report about both 10 and 11 showcasing all our documented proof of the harassment and threats towards us. Next I talked to their landlord who owned 10 and 11 in about 5 other houses in the complex as he is a good friend. He seemed concerned but not enough to kick them out. Guess he really wants rent payments. So I decided to get rid of them myself. First I found their Wi-Fi network and before I shut them out of it I got their email address, then locked them out of their own internet connection. I had their phone number from when we were good neighbors and got myself a burner phone. I signed them up for every spam email I could find, order takeout to be paid for on delivery every night of the week. I made sure their mailbox was stuffed with advertising. I even had men knocking on the door for promised fun only to leave angry and had a whole husband and Psycho BTCH at each other's throats. I made sure their phone was ringing at all hours of the night. They even threw the phone out the window. As a final favor I had a friend who runs a dog washing business come around pretending they booked her. When they explained they had no dogs and told her to duck off, she finally understood what we'd been dealing with. They kept berating her to leave, throwing in racial slurs. Bad idea. She took out the hose meant to wash the dogs and sprayed Psycho BTCH and a whole husband inside the house all over their carpet. I think they finally got the hint and moved out only a month later. Number 11 followed them a few weeks after. The entire complex had a huge pool party and celebration. But I wasn't going to let them off that easy. That Psycho wailed on my wife for no good reason, prepared to lose it all. From when we're on good terms with Psycho BTCH and a whole husband, I knew they were on temp visas while trying to apply for permanent residency. I made sure to mention to immigration where they had moved to, thanks friends in the rental market, and handed over the police report of them assaulting us in our own home for no good reason. Seems Psycho BTCH didn't make her own police report, so ours was the be-all and end-all and was enough to get them kicked out of the country. I know the country they come from, it's hard to get work, why a lot of people from that country move here. I feel zero remorse booting them out, zero, zip, nada. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe.